This video brought to you by Backwoods Home Magazine.
Hey there guys, welcome back. Today's going to be part 2 of the chicken coop build for my in-laws, and I am happy to say that it is finally finished. It's not installed yet. They didn't quite have a spot ready for me to deliver and install the coop, but it's ready for chickens and pretty much everything's done. So let me grab the camera and I'm going to show you some clips of how I've gotten from part 1 to where it is right now in part 2, and then after that I'll grab the camera and give you a little walk around tour and show you some of the different features.
The first big project of part 2 was to get a roof on this coop. And for the roofing, I'm using Ondura corrugated asphalt panels that I got at my local Lowe's. I'd never used these panels before, but they actually proved pretty darn easy to work with, and they come in a variety of colors. After getting the panels lined up and tacking down just the edges, I used a board to give me a nice straight line in which to set the rest of the nails. After I got the panels nailed down, I set my ridge cap and then tucked in some foam closure strips in the open voids where the corrugations are. And for added ventilation, I added in a standard 12-inch by 12-inch gable vent. And then I added some smaller vents underneath the eaves of the roof as well as the gable ends.
Now that you're all caught up as to the new additions to the coop, let me give you a quick walk around the outside and inside and talk about some of those features and maybe what purposes they serve. So starting out, real quick, the obvious changes on the outside were primarily the roof, and then you can see now the coop is sitting on its base that I built in part 1. Eventually that base will be concreted into the ground, so it won't sit quite that high, but it will give the chickens access to underneath so that they can get some shade and other protection from the elements. On the front side of the coop, obviously that's the main access door you saw in part 1, and then the window I built in part 1, but I did add some hardware cloth to that window and a gable vent just above there, and both of those will allow some passive airflow and just help to keep nice fresh air in the coop. Walking around to the side that has the egg door, you will notice the biggest change here is this galvanized vent right here. This is just a standard like $8 or $9 vent from Home Depot. Again, it's just to allow some passive airflow to the coop, as well as the fact that I think it kind of ties into the roofing and the flashing. I think it just kind of looks cool. So walking back to the back side of the coop, you might remember that I added a little clean out access door for my father-in-law just to make cleaning out the coop extra easy. It just has some simple latches down here, and then it has a little hook here that will hold the door open so you can grab a rake or a broom and simply sweep out all of the bedding material and poop and all of the good stuff. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature, and it will be probably something that I add to my own coop eventually. Walking over to the front, there's a couple of new things that you'll notice. Obviously this ramp, just super simple. I made this out of a redwood fence board, and the pieces that I cut off, I simply ripped them down to make these little cleats. And it just sits up there like that. Over here, for those of you who have seen my my own coop video and my chicken waterer video, I've simply added the same setup with a chicken waterer cup. It will eventually be piped in to a 55-gallon barrel that will hold water and gravity feed this little waterer cup. And the next feature that you may not notice out here, but I think is pretty cool because I'm a gadget loving guy, is this little galvanized dot up here. This is actually a bolt, and what this holds is a little trap door on the inside. So in the case that my in-laws, once this is installed and they have a little run attached to the coop, if the run ever gets compromised by a mountain lion or bobcat or something like that, and they need to enclose the chickens in the coop while that is repaired, they can simply pull this bolt and a little door slides down to help secure the chickens as a secondary form of security. And then it just slides back up like this and secured with that same bolt. I'll show that on the inside of the detail of the tracks and those kind of things. So moving on over the inside, we will just make entry through the main access door. And what you'll see in here is pretty simple. On the far side, I have some pine log roosting bars that I have mounted to some angled boards. And that just provides a nice natural roosting space for the chickens. It's exactly what I have in my own coop, and they seem to really like it. Over here are the nesting boxes, and those actually aren't quite finished. I'll eventually put like a little roof feature over here and then partition them a little bit better. Dimension wise, they are 14 inches wide, this opening, by 12 inches deep, and they will also accept a 5-gallon bucket to slide in there for, you know, if we ever want to try the 5-gallon bucket roosting area like some people find very successful. And then this is simply just a little step stool for the chickens to get in there or up onto the bars. And for those of you interested of what that inside trapdoor looks like, it is just a simple frame with hardware cloth. And then I have it running on these little galvanized tracks, and they're actually not tracks. They're from the stucco department of Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's called J-trim. So anyway, that's pretty much it. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope this was helpful and informative and maybe gave you some ideas for a chicken coop project of your own. I probably will eventually do an update video showing this coop with actual chickens inside once I finally get it installed. But until then, I thank you for watching. I always appreciate your comments and questions, and we will see you next time.